For those of you who have joined, good morning or good afternoon to everyone. My name is Jen, and I work for the Insights Association. Welcome to today's webinar, Extending Your Online Dashboards with Editable PowerPoint Export. Throughout the presentation, if you have any questions, you can enter them right into that chat pod. We'll open up questions at the end of the presentation. Please also join the chat throughout the presentation. Make sure that conversations continue to go. Today's presenter is Benjamin Rietti, and he is the CEO of Etabs. So I'll turn it over to him.
Thank you, Jen. Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for joining today. Just a summary of what we're going to look at today. A little bit of background about Etabs and what we do, and then sort of full-on automated reporting. What is fully automated reporting? And then we're going to be looking at getting editable outputs from dashboards. So automated reporting isn't just good for your static reports, but it's also good for interconnecting with dashboards like PowerBI and Tableau in order to obtain great editable outputs from those platforms that you may already be using. We're going to look at the types of projects that can be automated. It's not just Office nowadays, we can automate Google as well. So let's delve right in. Etabs as a company, we've been around for a long time, and we like to see ourselves as this acknowledged leader within the market research space, but particularly looking at data visualization, online dashboards, and automated reporting solutions. So we don't get involved in analysis, we don't get involved in the data collection side of it. It's all about what can we do for the final reporting stage, and therefore agnostic to whatever other platforms you might be using for collection and analysis and so on. We've won a number of awards on the way, which is great. Got to go to Buckingham Palace and see Her Majesty the Queen. Long may she reign over us, and that was really fun. We're a global company, so we can offer support to our clients around the world and around the clock as well. We know that you don't stop your reporting, so we can't stop our supporting. Let's first look at automated reporting and the concepts behind that. Automated charting isn't new, and nowadays getting charts generated automatically is fairly common and often taken for granted. But most options out there aren't actually that flexible. Sometimes you'll have a bright spark on the team who will create an Excel macro to run off a bunch of charts. But macros, while good at what they do, aren't perfect. And once made, they're like concrete. Either use it as is or smash it to pieces and literally start again. So if the expected data structure changes, or even if a client wants something minor adjusted in the formatting, that macro will simply need to be recreated from scratch. Maybe the charts are given to you as images that can't be edited. Not very helpful, and you're probably somewhat limited as well with the chart types and the number of objects on the slide, or restricted when handling changing conditions. Maybe you have an online analysis tool that offers rendering of analyses into simple PowerPoint charts. Sweet, but then you're still left with a lot of fiddling to get the final report done, and copying and pasting and adjusting everything to fit. So the optimal solution for automated market research and insights reporting should be a system that's able to handle variance in trackers, multi-market studies, without much fuss. Handling different brand lists or numbers of brands across waves or markets, show or calculate significance or stat testing, deal with low base conditions, and even write condition-based analysis text. Automatically handle brand logos or placement of indicators. And if the solution can natively understand the actual language of market research data and our industry's unique reporting needs, then so much more detail can be automated. And this is ideal for trackers, continuous studies, multi-market projects, repetitive customer SAT or employee SAT studies, concept or ad testing, and even for various ad-hoc projects too. We're talking about automating client-ready reports with every level of detail fully automated, so you can concentrate on the analysis and add more value to the project to give you some more brain use time rather than just typing in, copying and pasting numbers. So let's see our first stage in this webinar, just automating static reports. Let's just see an example of that. So what you're looking at here is our enterprise product. Sample project, let's look at the data. Pretty typical banner table that you're probably getting out of your systems right now. So that's the source file that we would take. And we can take any number of those. This is the template, just maximize that. So these are the slides in PowerPoint that we're going to automate. You can see they're all regular PowerPoint objects in there. It's a shelf. Okay. Click run, and then what happens is the automation takes place, or the merging the data, pulling the data from an Excel file or multiple Excel files if necessary, and populating the PowerPoint deck, object by object, slide by slide, not just bringing numbers in, but doing calculations, ranking, sorting, stat testing, and conditional formatting, putting coloring and so on based on rules. Let's have a look and see the output now. So there you go, you can see it's populated like text, like it's inserted the wave information. The next slide here, you can see the, make that a bit bigger, the chart. You can see the conditional text like Orango, our dummy brand here, decreased by X%. That's been inserted automatically. I'll click on the chart. You can see the indicators for significance on there as well. Click on that chart and you can see it's remained an editable native PowerPoint chart. All the data is in there. You can make changes in the chart, change data if you have to, and so on. Next slide, you can see conditional coloring on the numbers and the cells. You can see the flags and the dummy brands that went in there. Here's a table. You can see stat testing was inserted into there. Let's see the stat testing from the tables that you provided, or calculating the stat testing dynamically. Even footers, so you can insert the values, n equals, all the base values, and so on. That's all in there. And then this slide here, for example, that was showing NPS scores and automatically replicated for the same brand and its competitors across 3 different markets. All that was populated in literally a matter of seconds and left as editable charts. So that's a sample of the full-on automation, pulling data from data sources, usually Excel files, SPSS, for example, other banner tables, and populating a pre-designed template, in this case, PowerPoint. So now let's take that concept over to the world of dynamic dashboards, online dashboards. So we said like Power BI and so on. And now as I understand this concept of being able to report on a static level, the same thing works for dashboards. So as you're probably aware, most dashboard platforms fail to provide useful exports, where the charts exported are just images, essentially. And even if they do offer an Excel output, which they most do, you're still having to do all that charting then yourself from the Excel data. So based on the mainstream automation solution I just showed you, Enterprise Cloud is a brand new cloud-based platform that can accept data from anywhere, including popular dashboard systems like Tableau and Power BI. And it then uses that data that it finds in the dashboard to populate your choice of a fully editable native PowerPoint, or in fact, even Google Slides deck. So essentially, rather than the data source being the static Excel like we had initially, now we're talking about the data source being the data in the dashboard. Let's see that in action. I'll explain the principle behind our solution. We've developed an export function, as you can see up here, that can be integrated within an existing dashboard. And click the export button now. When clicked on, this exporter sends a data packet containing the currently visible data over to our cloud server. And within seconds, the Enterprise Cloud Server then populates a PowerPoint or Google Slides equivalent of the dashboard with that packet of data, populating each object accordingly, and then it will email back to the requester a file containing an attachment with that output. And here it is, a fully editable PowerPoint equivalent ready for me to work with. So you can see I can click on the different chart objects within the PowerPoint, and they're editable, native PowerPoint. Pretty straightforward, pretty quick. So what else can we automate? Well, the traditional Office suite of PowerPoint, Excel, and Word are a well-trodden path. But now we're seeing Google Slides and Google Sheets appearing more regularly as mandated deliverables. So as anyone who's had the pleasure, put that in quote marks, will testify, it's actually quite challenging preparing a chart-heavy presentation in Google. It's very, very time-consuming and frustrating. But that's all changing now. In a first for the industry, we're proud to announce that automating Google Slides and Sheets is now possible from our platform. Here's an example of a template in Slides, Google Slides, and we can see the transformation from the empty templated slide view to the populated chart. You can see it going back and forth in front of you. This is including conditional colors, automated generation of insight, and conditional text, ranking and aligning of indicators. And here we show conditional formatting like you had in the PowerPoint example before, but now this is the Google Slides version with advanced sorting, pulling in brand logos and the flags. And these can be pulled, those images can be pulled from slides themselves or from image files that perhaps you have on your Google Drive for the brand logos and so on. The beauty of our cloud report automation is it can work immediately. You can use it today on a project. We can take any of your existing dashboards and add our export functionality on top of them. Or if you want, our team can create a dashboard for you as well. For any given project, it usually just takes a couple of days, quite literally, to prepare the exporting and go live and hand it over to you. You can then choose to control how the exports are delivered with a link to the download, an attachment in the email, like I showed before, or perhaps even placed into your Sharepoint or Google Drive. So enhanced productivity for your clients and stakeholders can be a reality quite literally within days, and that can make a real difference. To summarize, there are several such strategic values to automated reporting and these sort of innovations in reporting. Automation gives you the chance to add value to what you're doing now. You can do it better and you can do more of it. Enhancing your range of deliverables gives you ways to generate more revenue and maintain, or even better, grow profits. Innovating strengthens client relationships. It can well make the difference between keeping or losing a client or project, or the difference between becoming stale in a client's eyes or making tangible changes that will be mutually beneficial and promote you to being seen as their partner rather than just another supplier. And finally, even your staff will appreciate the automation benefits. So instead of exercising their fingers preparing chart decks and copying and pasting, they can actually exercise their minds, as I mentioned before, and it's less stressful. Increased job satisfaction translates into a happier team and company, and of course clients. That was quite short and to the point. Happy to take any questions at this point using the Q&A box, I believe that Jen mentioned at the beginning. And we like to be challenged, so please reach out to us with your challenges and we'll be very happy to find a great solution.
Great, thank you. We do have a couple questions. Let's see, how easy is it to insert the export button into PBI? Is it just a visualization that you import?
Great question. So basically, the Power BI or Tableau Dashboard would be wrapped within, let's say, your web page, and at that web page that's the wrapper, we insert the script for the export button, and that then interacts with the actual dashboard itself.
When exporting from Power BI or Tableau, do I first need to prepare a corresponding PowerPoint template that will be filled, or does Etabs automatically generate the charts and tables on the fly?
Brilliant question. So yeah, you do need to prepare, and we can help you with that. But you do need to have a PowerPoint equivalent of the dashboard available that our system will then populate. It's using that as the template. So it doesn't have to be an exact replica of the dashboard. It could be whatever formatting you want. but we will pull the data from the dashboard and populate that template. That's right.
I'm not sure if you want to address this, but you're more than welcome. How is the data privacy maintained? And the second part of that question is, what is the cost of the software?
Okay, so the data privacy wise, I mean, everything is the dashboard is still your dashboard. It's still on your server or hosted wherever. And the transfer over to our cloud server is only those small packets of data. Whatever data is in a given chart in your dashboard, that's what will get carried over to our system. It's all GDPR compliant. You can choose to have a cloud-based solution in Europe. We can have one based in the US or practically anywhere, in fact. So the privacy is all maintained on that level, as well as obviously the secure method of transfer of data. And regarding pricing, it's usually just a couple of grand to get it all set up, and then a very small monthly figure in order to maintain the functionality of the exports. But yeah, contact us and we'll be happy to assess your requirements and give a more precise costing.
So the export output cannot be integrated into a platform, but can only be received on email.
No, that's not right. One of the options is attaching it as an output attachment to an email. Other options is it can be integrated within your own SharePoint or Google Drive or other places. Well, it can be FTP'd automatically. It can be placed wherever you want, essentially.
Great. Would it be possible to show an example of Power BI automation? I don't know if you have that available.
I don't have that in today's deck. I mean, I have one obviously for normal demonstration purposes. So if you want to just reach out to us, drop me an email. I'll be more than happy to do that. It's pretty much similar to the idea I showed you before. So PowerBI and Tableau are the same idea. Again, it will be a PowerBI dashboard. I do have a PowerBI dashboard I can show offline.
Great. Let me see. Who controls what the PowerPoint chart looks like? Do we create those or do you? Our clients have many standards that must be followed and also custom fonts that need to be used.
Right. So all the customization is possible. So you can include the fonts, you can include the branding in this PowerPoint template that we would use to populate from the dashboard. So basically, yeah, it can be as rich as you need it to be, as customized as you need it to be.
Okay, so with a follow-up question, so that must mean you can also add or delete slides, customize the output files and the data from there as well?
Yeah, so you'll be given a populated output file, let's say it's in PowerPoint, and then you've got complete control, delete whatever you want, add whatever you want, edit it to the heart's content.
Is this tool available to corporate side researchers as well?
Yes, absolutely. So our client mix is ranges between research suppliers and corporate buyers.
Okay, let me see. A couple of these are repeats. Does the report automation work with, and I'm going to kill the pronunciation of this, Qlik Sense and Qlik View? K-L-I-K.
Click view.
Thank you.
No problem.
I said I was going to butcher it.
I believe we can integrate with ClickView as well. Happy to have a separate call about that and explore that together.
You may have, this might be another follow-up. When we talk about editable PowerPoints, the data available on cloud servers, is this overriding the database entries or just creating an extra entry if we edit an existing slide?
So you're not editing the database at all. What happens is, you've got your database, you've got your dashboard on top of that database. You have this export button, and the export button is extracting the data that's currently shown in the dashboard. So the user's gone into a dashboard, done some filtering, chosen whatever they want to see in that dashboard. You now have a snapshot of data that you're looking at. Click export. That data is then put into a PowerPoint file on our cloud server, and that PowerPoint file is then sent back to you as an attachment, or we said put into your SharePoint or Google Drive. So at that point, you're not touching your database at all. You're touching a PowerPoint or Google export. You're completely disconnected from your original database. I hope that answers the question, if I understood it properly.
So far, I haven't seen him come back. Let's see. Answered that one. How does it pull the data into PowerPoint? Is it grabbing the numbers shown directly in, I think I may have asked that one already, into the PBI chart? Looks like there's duplicates in both questions.
Okay, I can see that question on the chat box here. Is
Yeah.
it grabbing the numbers shown directly? Yes, it's grabbing those numbers shown in the Power BI or other charts, grabbing those numbers and only those numbers, because that's all we have access to, and putting it into the equivalent chart in your PowerPoint template.
And then one more question on billing. Your output file basis or package, including X request and billing frequency.
So there's a bit of detail there. I think we're probably better to look at that as a discussion offline separately. But basically, the reporting is based on an estimate, your estimate of how much the system is likely to be used. So it can be fairly relatively cheap to get going, and it can grow with your needs. But happy to discuss your needs in more detail in a separate conversation, if that's okay.
How does your handling of Google Slides differ from just importing a PowerPoint file?
Oh, great idea. Great question. So yes, you can go to Google Slides and import a PowerPoint file, but it will import the charts as images. So the import's not very good as far as Google's concerned, pulling in PowerPoint. So if you're happy just with images on your charts, yeah, fine. But if you want editable charts within slides, actual native Google Slides or Google Sheets objects and data, then an automation is the way to go in order to pull in data into Google objects automatically.
Can the generated charts be delivered in a different way than email? Example is upload to Sharepoint.
Yeah, so I think we covered that one before. So add to embed it within your SharePoint, Google Drive, FTP it somewhere, email attachment, or a link with an email as well. So it doesn't have to be an attachment. And of course, those will all be secure.
Can you talk a little bit more about your report automation and how easy it is to handle changes over time?
Sure. So basically for the report automation, it's taking your data, it's taking your template, merging, if you like, or populating the template with that data. And as part of the automation process, it can be told up front about variants. So for example, let's say it's a multi-market project that you've got a single template you want replicated across, I don't know, 20, 30 markets. And there are certain differences, nuances between those markets, the number of brands or the order of brands. Some of the questions might be different from market to market. So we can build flexibility within the actual automation setup to take care of that on that journey, and therefore adjusting each of the individual country reports in that case based on the criteria, the brands of that market, the competitors of that market, and so on. I'm happy to do a more detailed demonstration of that offline if you want to reach out.
Okay. Can you create loops to generate multiple reports at once?
Yes. So you'd have one template, let's say, that's got to be replicated for 30 countries, and you'd have a list of the 30 countries and the data for all those countries, and then the system will automate running each of those 30 markets, market 1, market 2, market 3, market 4, and so on, all in one loop.
So I think that also answers the next question. Is it possible to export multiple dashboard views in one go?
Oh, it's actually slightly different, because from a dashboard point of view, you're not talking about iterating across different outputs. From a dashboard point of view, you click export, and then yes, let's say you have multiple canvases in your dashboard. It will be able to grab the data from all those canvases, perhaps honoring the filters that you'd set across all canvases, and then generate a PowerPoint deck that has all those different slides in it from the different canvases. So yes, very much possible from a dashboard as well.
So I know quite a few people have mentioned the pricing structure, and I know Ben has mentioned that before, but his email address is listed on that last slide. I'm sure if you reach out directly, he can go over the specifics of pricing, because I'm sure there's a bunch of varieties to that. But I know that there's a couple others who have mentioned it, so I just want to mention that. So it looks like most of the questions have been addressed. Ben, is there any final thoughts that you want to give today with just a few minutes left?
Sure. I think what I said before, that we like challenges. So very often companies think, oh my gosh, my project's way too complex to be automated, or there's too much change. The tracker isn't 100% the same every time. And we say, again, just challenge us. Even if something, let's say, wouldn't be practical to automate 100%, let's say we automate 80% of it. That's still 80% saving in time and cost. And then you've got 20% to play with for the bits that change each wave. So, and automation doesn't have to be all or nothing. And that's a big misconception. And also, even ad hoc projects. You could have an ad hoc project, a one-time project, but there's a lot of repetition within the project, maybe the same sets of slides repeated over and over, or it's a one-time project across different category cuts and so on. Again, we can apply automation in that scenario. And I always like to be on the lookout for opportunities of automation. So it could be, for example, you do very similar concept testing or ad testing, and it may not quite be templated, but if you could look towards making that a templated sort of reporting as far as a concept test or ad test goes, then that's automation made easy on a platter for you. Because it's the same template, it's just we're putting different data through it each time. And maybe sometimes you'll be looking at comparing 2 ads, 2 concepts, 4 concepts, 6 concepts, whatever it may be. Again, the template can be built to handle that variance. So, like I said, always be on the lookout for automation possibilities, because automation equals, saving in time and saving in cost, and saving in frustration. Like I said, if you've got any questions, any possible opportunities of projects where you think maybe let's try automation, be more than happy to have a discussion with you and look at what you have and give you some feedback as to what's possible and what may not be.
Excellent. Thank you so much. On the last slide, as I've mentioned, Ben's email address is on there. You can also go to www.e-tabs.com for more information. We will send a link of the recording, and Benjamin has a copy of the presentation he can share as well. But I want to thank Benjamin and Etabs today for their presentation, and thank you to our audience for joining us today, and we hope everyone enjoys the rest of their week. Thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, John.
Take care.
Bye-bye.